Hello everyone, welcome to the new video. In the last video, we have discussed about Linux and its distros. In this video, we are going to discuss about how to install WSL, means Windows Subsystem for Linux, and use the different distros available in WSL. Because going forward, we need a Linux to run and practice all the commands to get hands-on experience on the commands. So obviously we need a Linux environment. We have multiple options to get the Linux environment for practice. Like we can have a laptop or system with any Linux distro installed on it so that we can directly log in and we can use the Linux environment. But as most of us use the Windows as OS in our systems, this option may not work. In this case, we can install a virtual machine on Windows laptop and then we can install any Linux distro on virtual machine. So few years back, we were all following the same mostly, but we have another option which is using WSL feature in Windows OS. And we have another option also, that is AWS Cloud. We can create an AWS account and create one EC2 instance with any Linux distro, as Amazon is providing a free tier for some services. We can use it for free for 1 year, I think. So we can use that AWS Cloud. But we are not using AWS Cloud for now, because I will discuss this topic as part of AWS Cloud video, that how to create AWS account and how to create an EC2 instance and how we can use for our practice or any purpose. Okay, so for now we will use the WSL, means Windows Subsystem for Linux. This is the feature available in Windows where we can enable it in Windows BIOS settings. So in today's video, we are going to learn how to install and use WSL for our practice. In this video, you will learn how to install WSL on Windows. So obviously this video is for Windows users. Right, then install default or any distro available in WSL. We have default distro for WSL and many other distros in online that we can download and install on WSL. Once installed, we will discuss how to access the Linux file system from Windows Explorer itself, and how to manage and remove any Linux distros from WSL. When we don't need them, we can unregister or remove the distro from WSL. WSL, or Windows Subsystem for Linux, is a feature in Windows that allows users to run a Linux environment directly on their Windows machine without the need of virtual machine or dual booting. It enables you to use Linux command line tools, utilities and applications alongside your Windows desktop and applications. Means with the use of WSL, you can run a Linux type of environment inside the Windows operating system without the need of virtual machine. WSL does not require a traditional virtual machine, as I said, which usually uses more resources of your system, affecting the system performance. And also WSL is very easy to set up when compared to the virtual machine. Also, you are not limited to single distribution, as we can use any distribution on WSL that are available online to download. To enable and work with WSL, you need Windows 10 or newer version. And visualization settings need to be enabled in BIOS settings if not enabled already. While installing WSL, if you get message from WSL to enable virtualization, then you need to reboot your system, enter BIOS and enable the virtualization. This process may vary from manufacturer to manufacturer, so you may need to verify the documentation of your system and follow the same. As you know, WSL supports many Linux distributions and the default one is Ubuntu. Means while installing WSL, if you do not specify any distribution, then it will install the latest version of Ubuntu, as this is a default one. As you can see, the other distros available online are like Alma Linux, Debian, Kali Linux, Oracle Linux, SUSE and many others. And we can check all available distros online that we can download and install in WSL using command line utility. We can check the command in few minutes while doing hands-on on the PowerShell command. You can now install everything you need to run WSL with a single command. To install, open PowerShell or Windows command prompt in administrator mode. Remember that by right clicking and selecting run as administrator. Once you open the PowerShell or a command prompt in the administrator mode, just enter the command WSL install. It will install the WSL and also the default distro, that is called Ubuntu. And in some cases it may ask you to restart the system once installed, so you can restart the system and start the WSL. This command will enable the features necessary to run WSL and install the Ubuntu distribution of Linux. Okay, let's go to the PowerShell terminal and we will try to install WSL. Now we will install the WSL by running the command WSL install and the default distro, which is Ubuntu, as we discussed. As I told, just open the PowerShell or Windows command prompt in administrator mode. Just click on the Windows button and type PowerShell. You can see the PowerShell application and just right click on it and click on run as administrator. It will ask for allow permission, then you click on the S. Right, the PowerShell application is open. Now we are in the PowerShell application prompt, right? Now then enter the WSL install command as we discussed. Observe it. And if I run the command, it will try to install the WSL and download the default distro, which is the Ubuntu, and it will try to install the Ubuntu distro on this machine. I am hitting the enter now. See, it is telling us that downloading Ubuntu from online. It will take some time to download the Ubuntu latest version from online and then it will start installing it. Once it installs, it may ask you for a restart to complete the installation. In some cases it may not ask. If it asks for restart, you can check the Ubuntu installation once you restart the system. Downloading is completed and now it is installing the Ubuntu distro. It may take some time, just wait and see. Once the installation completed, it will start the new Ubuntu system and it will ask you to create a user to log in, as we need some user to log into the system, right? It says the distribution is successfully installed, right? Okay, now downloading and installing of Ubuntu is completed. To start Ubuntu, we have to run the command just WSL, right? If you run this command, as I said, it will start the Ubuntu system and it will ask you to create a user. See the message, provisioning the new WSL instance and create a default Unix user account. So you have to provide a user name here to start and log into the Ubuntu system. Here I am creating user as sysadmin. Right, I am giving a username as sysadmin and it will ask to set the password. I am setting the same password as sysadmin. This is not the right process. You can use a strong password for your account. Once you set the password, it will log into the Linux system. See, this user what we created now will be the root user and have complete permissions on this system. Remember that. So we are in the Ubuntu system. You can observe the prompt here that it will show the user logged in and the Linux system host name. Here this is the shell terminal. You can run any Linux command here and it will work as a Linux system. To exit from the Linux system, just you are in the Linux system now. If you want to exit from this Linux system and back to the PowerShell, then just enter the command exit, and then hit the enter. It says logout and you are in the PowerShell terminal now. Hope you clearly understood how to install WSL. We know how to install the default distro, which is Ubuntu, but what if you need any other distro other than Ubuntu on your WSL? Means if you want to install any other distro other than Ubuntu, then what we can do? Let's see. For example, if you want to install the Debian distro also, what can we do? Let's see that now. To change the distro to be installed, we can use the same WSL command with -d option and provide the distribution name. We can also use WSL minus distribution and with the distribution name. We can see these commands on the shell, but let's see what are all the commands we have. In the command, we have to replace the distribution name with the name of the distribution you would like to install. As we know, WSL supports many distros and we have command to check them. Means like if you want to install any other distro other than the default, how would you know what are all the distributions available online that can be downloaded and need to be installed? So that to check, we have a separate command in the WSL, that is list and online. Like along with the command, we have to use options -list -online or simple WSL -l and -o options. We can see what are all the distributions available online to be downloaded and we get installed. Right, to install additional Linux distributions after the initial install, you can also use the same command. As I said, WSL -install along with the option -d and the distribution name. Let's log into the Linux shell and run these commands. As you know how to install default Ubuntu distro, now we will see how you can install other distros if you need. And we can use the WSL command with the distribution option by providing the distribution name, as we discussed in the earlier video. To provide the distribution name, we should know the available distros for download right now. We can check the same by command. As we discussed, we know the command to check all the available distros online that we can download and install in our WSL right now. That the command we can use is WSL -list space -online. Hit enter. See, it displayed all the distros available right now online. It provided the name and the friendly name for that particular distro. As you can see, the first one is Alma Linux -8, which is a version of that Alma Linux. You can see the friendly name Alma Linux OS 8. And the same way you can find many other distros that are available online. So from this list, if you want to install any specific distro, we have to use the command WSL -install and space -distribution and the distribution name like Debian or Alma Linux -8 or any other name you have to mention to install that specific distro. Right, now you can run the command and we'll try to install a Debian from the list of distros we have. To install Debian, I will use the command WSL -install and -distribution, and the distribution name is Debian. Right, let's see. It is downloading the Debian from the internet now. It will take some time to download and install the Debian system. Let's wait and see. The downloading is completed. Now it started installing the Debian system in the WSL now. Okay, the distribution successfully installed. You can see that message, and you can now the Debian is installed. To connect to this specific distribution, we can use the WSL command. But earlier, when we installed the Ubuntu system, you saw that when you use the WSL WSL command, it directly connected to the default Ubuntu system. Even if you try to connect with the WSL command, it will connect the default system, but you want to connect to the Debian system. So what is the command that we can use to connect to specific distro? We can see that WSL minus D, or we can use the distribution, and the distribution name is here Debian. See, as we are connecting for first time, it will ask us to create user as it did for Ubuntu. In the same way, provide any username. Here I am giving the admin and setting the password also admin. I know this is not the best practice to use, but I am creating for training purpose, and I am using a simple username and password. I am giving just admin here, and password also the same admin. Once you set the password, it will log into the Debian system. You can observe the prompt here. It is showing the username connected and the WSL host name, right? Linux host name. So we have two distros now. One our WSL, one is default Ubuntu and the other one is the Debian. Right now we are in Debian system, right? Then if you want to exit from the Linux Debian system and want to back to the PowerShell prompt, just use the command exit. So we are back to the PowerShell terminal, right? We can use the command WSL to directly connect to the Ubuntu system, like as we did before. Let's see. If I use only the WSL command, it is connecting to the default distro in the WSL, which is Ubuntu. See, the user is different here that we created when we created the Ubuntu system. It is admin user. Hope you remember that. I am exiting from here as well for now. We have some useful commands to manage WSL. Let's see them. If we want to see all the distros that are installed on this WSL, then we can use the command WSL -- list or WSL -L. It will display the distros installed on this WSL right now, right? Let's see that command. Let's go to the WSL and use the command WSL -- list. Just list, not online, because we are trying to see the distros that are installed on your WSL right now. You can see the output of this command. It's showing Ubuntu as the default, and one more distro that we have installed is the Debian. So right now we have two distros available on this WSL, and the default one is the Ubuntu, right? And the next command we can see is, we already know that, which we can check all the available distros that are available online that we can download and install on our WSL. The command is WSL -- list -- online, or we can use WSL -L and -O. As we can see, -- list -- online, right? This command is same as -L and -O. It is simple to use. The output is same for both the commands. As we can see, WSL -L we can use instead of -- list. And the next command we have is WSL -- distribution and the distribution name. For what we can use this command? To connect to log into any specific distro. We have two distros here. The default one is the Ubuntu, but if you want to connect to the Debian system, let's see that. First we will use only just WSL command, right? If I use the WSL command, it will directly connect to the Ubuntu because it is the default distro right now in this WSL configuration. Now it connected to the WSL, but how we can know it is Ubuntu or the Debian? In Linux we have one command, that is hostname CTL. It will give you the details about your operating system and Linux distro that you are using. See, you can observe the operating system, it is showing as Ubuntu, right? Just I am exiting from this system, like Ubuntu system, and I want to connect to specific distro now, that is WSL minus D, or we can use the distribution minus distribution, or minus D the distribution name. I am giving Debian, right? See, now the user is admin. The user we have created in the Debian system is admin. Now run the same command that we used before, hostname ctl, right? You can observe the operating system, it is Debian system. Hope you understand the difference, how you to connect the default distro and how you can connect to the specific distro. I am exiting from this as well, and let's see the next command, that is WSL minus distribution and minus username, or you can use simple command WSL minus D and minus U with the username. As you observed when we used the above command, earlier command, it is using the default user to login. In case if you have multiple users in the system, like admin user, you may have another normal user, or maybe a Tomcat user, which we generally use to run the Tomcat web server on the Linux, like any system. And if you want to log in as specific user, then we can use minus user or minus U option with the username. To test this, we need one more like user other than the default user on the Linux system, right? We have created, when we log into the Ubuntu system, we have created only one user, that is the root user. But as we need one more user, we can use user add command to create a new user in the Linux system. We can discuss more about this command in coming lessons. For now, I have already created user with the username Tomcat in the Linux distro, and I have logged in using this particular user to the Ubuntu system right now. Let's see that command. Let's go to the shell, and the command which we are trying to use is WSL minus D, the Ubuntu, right? Ubuntu, and minus U, and the user is Tomcat, right? Hit enter. Now observe that username. Now it is showing us Tomcat, and we can in Linux we have another command, who am I. Sorry, who am I? Sorry again, who am I? It's a typo. It will give you the username, logged in username, the current user which is logged into the system. It is showing the Tomcat. If I exit from the system and use the WSL and minus D Ubuntu without any username, right? I'm connecting as admin user. I'm using the command who am I, it will give you the admin user. Hope you understand now, right? We have some other commands with WSL that we can use to set the default distro, checking the WSL status, and unregister any distro, or also shut down the running instances. We can check the WSL default version and the default distro using the command WSL minus status. Let's see the command. I am exiting from the system now, and see, I want to know what is, I have two distros now, Debian and Ubuntu, but I don't know what is the default distro that is configured in the WSL right now. Because if I want to connect to the distro using the WSL command, but I don't know what is the default distro. How can I check the default distro in this WSL? Just use the command WSL minus status. See, it is showing default distribution is the Ubuntu, and it also displayed the default version. In WSL we have two versions, WSL 1 and WSL 2. We are using the latest version, and it is showing that version 2. Okay, that is the use of the WSL minus status. And we can change the default distro in the WSL by using the command WSL minus set minus default and the distribution name. right? Understand, right now we have default distribution is Ubuntu, and we can check what are all the installed. We have Ubuntu and Debian, and the default one is the Ubuntu, but now I want Debian as the default distro, not the Ubuntu. How can I change that? I can use the command WSL minus set minus default and space the distribution name Debian, right? The operation completed successfully means the default distro is changed to the Debian. We can check by using status. See, now the default distribution is showing as Debian, right? If you want to unregister any distro name, any distro that you don't want, that we can do it by WSL minus unregistered distro name. That we can try now, but it will remove the Debian system. Yeah, anyway I can try now. So WSL minus unregister Debian, right? Unregistering the operation completed successfully. Now if I list the installed only the Ubuntu distro we have on this WSL, and it is the default one, as we don't have any other distro available right now in the WSL system. If you want to install again any other distro, we can use the command WSL -L-O, and to see all the available distributions, and you can install any distribution that you want from this list. And we have the command WSL minus shutdown. It will gracefully shut down all the running instances right now. We can check by using the same command shutdown. Right, it is not running. The available Ubuntu is there, but it gracefully shut downs all the, if any running instances are there, it will shut down the instances with gracefully. Now we'll see the Linux file system. Once we install any distro using WSL, we can see the corresponding name under the Windows File Explorer. You can navigate inside that file system to see all the files directories available under that Linux distro. That we can see by using by going to the Windows Explorer, right? Open the Windows Explorer, and you can see here Linux, under Linux there is a directory called Ubuntu, right? If you click on that Ubuntu system, it will show all the files and directories available inside that directory, that we can directly use it from our Windows Explorer. That is the use of using the WSL. That's it for this video. Hope you liked it. I will see you in my next video. Thank you.